We're going to talk about monarchs in the Middle Ages, powerful kings. Beginning in the 8th century, 700s, foundations were laid for the many modern European nations, although their borders would remain fluid for many coming centuries. The political basis of countries like France, England, and Spain began to appear. In 987, the Capetian dynasty assumed French rule under Hugh Capet. Capet is a nickname meaning wearing a cape. At the time, France was a collection of semi independent states that included Normandy, Flanders, Anjou, and Aquitaine. Capet thus had limited royal authority, and the nobles in the territories gave him only token allegiance. Later, Philippe II managed to bring several feudal territories claimed by England under French control. His military successes also enabled him to gain more authority over the nobility. By the reign of Philip the Fourth, from 1285 to 1314, France had become the most powerful state in Europe. In 1066, the Normans, a French speaking group of Vikings, descendants who had settled in northern France, they invaded England and toppled the Saxon king. Under William the Conqueror, the Normans established an Anglo Norman government that slowly integrated traditional customs of the region with Norman traditions. William the Conqueror imported French style feudalism into England. After William's death in 1087, England went through a time of brief destabilization as his heirs fought over his titles and property. The country regained its strength under Henry II. That's going to be 1154 to 1189. Henry instituted a single common law, which applied equally to all citizens. He also created a unified court system, which included jury trials. Order was restored. England experienced many instances of conflict between the king and the nobility. The situation became critical under King John. In an effort to raise money for war against France, John levied excessive taxes, thereby weakening his support throughout the country. After John was defeated in France, the nobles rebelled against him and forced him to sign the Carta, Latin for Great Charter, a document that guaranteed rights to nobles and dramatically limited the power of the king. The Magna Carta limited the power of the king. In practice, it meant that a general council made up of the king's leading vassals had to approve any taxes levied beyond the king's personal revenue. In theory, the Magna Carta established the principle that the king was not above the law. Ordinary English people did not benefit from this immediately, but over time, the principles of the document were extended to protect the rights of all citizens, not just the wealthy. As the 13th century progressed, English kings continually needed money, especially for war. The Great Council, later called Parliament, from the French parler, meaning to speak, wanted to control royal spending and the power of the monarch. When Henry III resisted Parliament's attempt to extend its influence, a rebellion ensued. Henry was temporarily removed and replaced by a parliament led by one of the nobles. Henry's son, Edward, retook the throne in 1265. Edward wanted to be granted the power to collect more money from the people and called for 2 knights from every county and 2 residents from every town to be assembled with the king's great council. This was considered to be England's first representative parliament. Eventually, Parliament was organized into 2 tiers. The House of Lords was made up of noblemen and church leaders, while the House of Commons comprised knights and town residents. Parliament approved taxes, discussed politics and policies, and worked with the monarch to make laws. This is the system they still have today in England. And it's the system the United States adopted. The Senate is the House of Lords, and the House of Representatives is the House of Commons. They call it a bicameral government, or 2 houses of a lawmaking body. Italy. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the various states located on the Italian peninsula remained independent of one another, often referred to as city-states because many comprised of an area only as large as a single city. These territories were sometimes controlled by Germanic tribes and were at other times under the rule of the Byzantines or the French. One of the few exceptions was the Papal States, the Pope's land, which included the city of Rome. This area remained important due to its location as the headquarters of the Catholic Church. That's the end of today's lecture.